Easton Grange. Today is October 17th, 2022, and my name is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, and I am so delighted to welcome Denise Lane, Executive Director, and Kelly Lamb, co-founder of Raising Multicultural Kids. It's a wonderful organization that Easton enjoys, and they're going to explain tonight the program and the benefits to the Easton community. I know you're going to enjoy this, you're going to be informed, and it's going to be an engaging program. So welcome to Kelly.
Thank you so much. Denise, would you mind just saying hi real quick, and then you can go do the slides?
Hello, it's a pleasure for us to be here. We are thankful to you for having us come in and speak with you tonight, and we look forward to a partnership with you going forward.
Thank you. Denise is going to be our Vanna White tonight. So my name is Kelly Lamb. I am co-founder and president of Raising Multicultural Kids, an organization that began after my youngest child entered kindergarten. So my husband and I, my husband's actually a townie, he grew up here in Easton, we created our family through adoption. And my youngest child is 100% Dominican, and she's very dark-skinned. And when she entered Easton Public Schools, she began to have negative experiences because of her skin color. In kindergarten, she actually had 3 separate incidents, including getting the N-word from another kindergartner. And so this began us on our journey. Do you want to switch slides? You can see her beautiful face. Oh, the next one, Denise. That's her face right there. So that's when she was 5. So she, really struggled with the issues that she was facing. She didn't want to take her coat off. She didn't want anyone to see that she had brown skin. It was really difficult, both Andy and I being white parents, to be able to know what we needed to do in order to help her. And so we asked her, we said, what do you want us to do? What do you want us to ask the school to do so that they can get you the support you need? And she said, I want a brown teacher to come into my classroom. And I said, oh, because I got this, perfect. And I said, well, okay, what is that teacher going to do? And she said, we'll stand in a circle and we'll hold hands, and then everyone will know that it's okay that I have brown skin. Right? And so at 5 years old, she already understood the power of representation. It was amazing. So Andy and I went to the school and we said, can you have a black teacher come into her classroom and do this for her? And that's when we found out Easton had no black teachers. And it's actually not a problem just in Easton, it's a statewide problem. 92% of teachers in Massachusetts are white. And so it's not a problem that Easton was going to solve. And so we began to say, well, how can we get creative and get her the support that she needs? And at that point, talking to some of the teachers there, one of the teachers actually created her family through adoption, and her oldest was also very dark-skinned and in high school. And she wanted to study to be a teacher, like her mom. So we thought, well, this is great. She can build up her resume. She can come down once a week into the classrooms and be that support for Kitty. And so she did. She came. Thursday quickly became Kitty's favorite day of the week. But the issues that she had then began to happen from other classrooms. So she was out on the playground. Some students said they don't play with brown kids, they only play with white kids, so they wouldn't play with her. And then she also got the N-word. And so we began to think, okay, how can we, on the whole community level, really come together and support her? And the district was really very welcoming and open to having this conversation. They created a superintendent advisory committee because there were some other issues going on at the high school as well. And so they had different people from groups that are often targeted by hate coming together to advise the superintendent. And that's when we found out that we were actually put on the committee representing parents of kids of color. And so I was like, well, both my husband and I are white, so maybe we're not really the best people to be in this spot. And they said, well, we've been trying to recruit, but nobody's volunteered. And so I said, well, let me try and help you and see what I can do. And I found 30 families that were willing to participate in the conversation. And so that's really the beginning of RMK, all these families coming together to have this conversation with the school district around what we can do to prevent these issues, but also support the students after they happen. Because, my daughter, it really fractured her sense of safety and security, and she felt like she didn't want to be in school, but that's she has to be there. She spends most of her waking hours there, right? So she really needed to be reconnected back in to feel safe and supported. And so we had to figure out ways to do that as well. And so that was really RMK coming together and saying, we're going to figure this out. We're going to bring in resources to our district. As you know, our schools are primarily funded by taxpayers' dollars. We don't get a lot from the state. So programs like this that, can be really, really expensive. And so we thought, you know what, we need to figure out ways to bring resources in the community so we can do this for all of our kids. And so do you want to go to the next slide, Denise? So really, the 30 families coming together picked the name, and we decided on this mission of increasing racial and cultural competency in communities with deep engagement with the school. So we knew we really needed to be in the schools because these incidents happen, and they happen very young. The more people we talk to, the more we realize that this is happening a lot in the early elementary. In fact, in our first in-person meeting, there were 19 families there, and every single family there, their child had an experience prior to 3rd grade. And so we knew we needed to be in the schools. We needed to be having these conversations very early when they were really starting to develop their ideas about race and culture and differences in general. And so we work with educational experts and with local citizens, and we also try to do community education with parents as well, because it can't just happen in the school system. These conversations have to happen at home with parents and families as well. And so we came together really with the mission to help all kids feel better about themselves, and to see representation in leadership so that they, white kids, black kids, Asian kids, all see leaders that look like them. And also to give kids the skills to really talk about these issues, so that way if they experience or witness harm, they know what to do, right? My daughter didn't really know what to do in the moment when these things happened to her, but by the 3rd incident, she had gained some skills and she was able to advocate for herself. And unfortunately, kids can be mean, right? All kids can benefit from learning how to advocate for themselves. So we ended up really doing this deep work with the Easton Public School teachers, and we created this program where we have diverse college students coming into the classroom. So we basically expanded Kitty's program. They come into the classrooms and they read a book. It's usually a book about culture or race or people with different abilities, different socioeconomic status. So we really try to highlight all the diversity that there is out in the world, and then they do an activity with the kids to really deepen the engagement. And a lot of the programming is meant to also promote service. So every year we have a school-wide service project that we do. So last year we did Mitzvah Pizza, which is a book about a Jewish family. Mitzvah means good deed. And so she had some allowance money that she wanted to, did you just drop that off? She had some allowance money that she wanted to donate. And so she went on a daddy-daughter date with her father. She's trying to figure out what to do with this money. And they go to this pizza place. And it's actually based on a real pizza place in Philadelphia that you go in and you can prepay for a slice of pizza, write mushroom pizza on a sticky note, put it up on the wall, and anyone that comes into that pizza place that can't afford to pay for a slice can grab a sticky note and pay with a sticky note. And so we did this book, and we ended up having the kids take a list of what the Easton Food Pantry needed, and they wrote on sticky notes and decorated the sticky notes what the local food pantry needed, and then they created a community board in the front of the school, and kids took post-it notes home and to their parents and asked their parents if they could pick up the item and bring it back and donate it to the food pantry. And so every year we have a big service project like that to encourage the students to also take care of each other, because it's really, really important, especially in the times that we live in, that we really find ways that we can come together and support each other. And then in the middle school, we developed a program where we can help the kids really start to understand who they are, how they're showing up in the world, how people who are different have different lived experiences because of those differences. And then we study some famous advocates to really talk about what is individual advocacy, what is self-advocacy, what is systems advocacy. And so they develop the skills and tools to understand what it is to be an advocate, and then they create their own advocacy event. So they really figure out what kind of work they want to do in their community based on their community's needs. And then at the end of the year, it turns into a service learning project where they do a big advocacy event. And all of this work, we really need to figure out, what are the things that we want to teach? What's important for the students to learn? So we worked with Easton Public School teachers, a diverse group of parents, and some educational experts to come together to create our diversity, civics, and advocacy modules, which are really the culture of our organization, but also the things that we want to teach to the students based on their ages. And that really helps inform our work. Because when you look at the state standards, they do a really good job of the new state standards of introducing the kids to different people and different cultures. But at no point do they tell the kids what to do if they witness or experience harm. And we really felt like that was missing. Like that was missing for my daughter. She needed some direction on what she could do in order to get help when she needed it. And so we really worked hard to plug in those age-appropriate ways of teaching kids how to advocate for themselves, how to get help. And then our community-based programs, we've had 10 districts reach out to us and ask us for our program, but we don't have the funding to serve all the districts that are coming to us. So we created a bedtime book club that's virtual that parents can opt into on their own if they're interested to get some of these stories. And it's run by a diverse group of college students at Bridgewater State University. They do a fabulous job with the program. And Denise is organizing having some famous people read some books this year as well, so it should be pretty cool. And then we have our youth forum. You want to add to that?
I don't know if any of you have heard of American Ninja Warriors.
Yeah.
So Ed, you know about American Ninja Warriors? Well, warriors are going to be reading in our bedtime book club, so you don't have to be a kid to join.
That's fine. That's great.
And we'll take your information in case you want me to share the dates that they'll be on, so that you can join our list.
Great.
And then our youth forum is at OA. This is only specific to Easton. We don't do it in other towns, but we really support a lot of the work at Oliver Ames around DJ Henry. We work with the Henry family to do the DJ Henry Day, and also this year we're doing a special event around the 12th anniversary because his football number was the number 12. So we're organizing like 12 sports games. We're going to be there talking about DJ, his life, his legacy, and also collecting money for the DJ Henry Dream Fund because they do some excellent work in helping kids that are lower socioeconomic status have access to sports equipment and to sports camps. And then we also have our adult learning program, which many of you came to the series Denise hosted this summer around the One Book, One Town with Listening is an Act of Love, which she did an excellent job with that program. So community work, school-based work, we have a great group of leaders. We have a lot of diversity on our board. Angela, who's in the middle there, she's actually a diversity, equity, inclusion expert. She's been at Fidelity. She's now the president of it at Robin Hood. Our vice president, Maria, she's a science geek like me, but she's also an excellent illustrator. So we started writing our own books and creating our own curriculum, and she illustrates them. She's also our IT specialist. And then Jackie's on the side, her sort of side hustle is event planning. So she does a lot of our events for us. So we're really lucky to have a talented group of ladies. And then we also have additional leadership for PR, grant writing. We also have a point person on Easton Wings of Hope to really help support their mission. And we have a bunch of different experts that we work with Bridgewater State University, Stonehill, our advisory board. Many of you probably know Gary from the Lions Club, who is one of our advisors as well. And Adam is Easton native here who does our grant writing. And so in order to create our curriculum, we have licensed teachers that work on that. So Cassina here, she's actually was a teacher in Brockton for 12 years, and she has her master's in curriculum, and she actually also has her certificate in culturally responsive teaching. So all the things that we do in the classroom are all created by licensed teachers, even the assessments that we do to make sure the kids are learning the things that they should be learning, and really making sure that our diversity leaders are well trained by Cassina so that when they're going into the classroom, they're not only giving these lessons, but the classroom teacher is sitting there observing. So it's professional development for them too. They're learning new resources and how to talk about these topics with young kids. And we also have a curriculum specialist that really helps with all the assessments and helping us not only do the classroom program, but now we also train teachers on our curriculum. So we did in partnership with BSU so that teachers actually can get professional development credits, but they also get a micro-credentialing. So they get a special badge that they can put on their resume for completing our training and our work. And so I already talked about this. The problem is really that there's no diversity in the teachers in Massachusetts. And so our hope is that as we recruit these students and we train them, they could be any major. They're not necessarily just an education major, that they enjoy their time in the classroom and decide that they want to pursue a degree in teaching. And so we actually have a number of social work students who have decided that they're going to work in schools now after going through this program. And so we've been successful. We're still pretty small, but we've been really successful in inspiring some of the kids to go into the classroom. So we're very happy about that. As part of our growth, a lot of the teachers were asking, can we do this in pre-KK and kindergarten? It turns out kids really start to form their ideas and opinions about race as early as 3 years old. There's a doll test, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It was back in the 50s where they had 2 dolls who were exactly alike, except one was black and one was white. And then they had the young kids come into the room to look at the dolls and ask them, which doll is good, which doll is bad. Tell me about this doll, tell me about that doll. And they found that kids as early as 3 were already starting to have negative attitudes towards the black dolls. They repeated that study again in 2017, and this time they didn't ask any questions. They just put the dolls in the room to see what the kids would do, and they found that the kids were more likely to mistreat the doll of color. And so that both white kids and black kids were mistreating the doll, saying bad things about it, trying to cook it or step on it, versus the white dolls, which they treated with more care. And so they know that this is happening, that kids are starting to form their opinions young. And so we have now expanded down into pre-K as well to begin having these conversations. And really, a lot of what we say in those grades is just like, people come in different shapes, sizes, and colors, and that's normal, and that's how the world is, and we should appreciate and celebrate and love each other. And you can see here, these are the books that we did. I'll skip over this, but for anyone that's interested to know what kind of books we use, we actually, between the 2 programs, the Easton Public Schools will get introduced to 30 different books this year. So every year they'll get introduced to a large number of books, and teachers can take what they like and continue doing it beyond our time in the classroom. One of the biggest challenges we have is finding good books, because again, just like Easton isn't going to solve the problem of the state, and it's actually a nationwide problem of not having enough black and brown teachers, they're not going to solve the issues in the publishing industry either. 50% of books are published on white characters, 27% on animals. All other races are 23%, so less than animal characters. And so some of our job is really trying to find the best resources in that small 23% in order to give a good representation of the world to the children. But we struggle, especially with family structure. Books that talk appropriately about adoption are really, really hard to find. And so we decided to start creating our own curriculum and have written some books ourselves. Nothing that's published yet, but it's coming. Oh, so this is, yeah. So you see what you send home to the parents is a little flyer that introduces the diversity leader, and so they can get to know a little bit fun facts. Now, we've had some issues going into other communities when this flyer goes home. A lot of parents will call upset and try and stop the program, and so we started actually going into communities to do parent talks as well, to talk to them about the program, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there about the work. And when we go in and we talk about it, for the majority, people really like it. There's unfortunately one community that, the parents basically said they didn't want black and brown leaders in their community. They moved to their community because it was white. And so we are no longer in that community. But for the most part, the parents that show up to the meetings are really appreciative of the work that we do. Go to the next one.
This is
That's the last one?
Yeah. But I just want to say a few words.
Yeah.
Is it on? I don't know if you touched on the topics, but the topics that we cover in the classroom are culture, language, race, socioeconomic status, family structure, and ability. So we bring books in to the classroom that cover either one or multiple, many of those topics. Because we want to bring in a diverse, we want to bring in a diverse,
Yeah, he wants to be, no, he wants you to just turn it off.
he's moving me this way.
Okay.
He's moving me this way.
Okay.
So so the books cover at least one, most of the time, multiple, many of those topics when they go into the classroom, because the classrooms don't tend to have a variety of books that cover those topics. So we're actually enhancing the library that the teachers have by the diversity leaders going in with these books.
And all of our diversity leaders are paid. And so Denise is a full-time paid employee, I'm a full-time volunteer, but all of our diversity leaders are also paid, and so there's a cost to our program as well. But we're really proud of the fact that we pay the students to do this work, because a lot of times people of color are asked to do this work and they're not compensated. And so we prioritize doing that.
That's great.
Are there any questions about the work we do?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Wait, can I give you the mic?
I graduated from high school, Auburn High School, when I was 22
Yeah.
years of age. When I came back to Auburn, I should say, when I was 22 years of age, I had gone 4 years to the University of Massachusetts. And when I got back 3 years later, I was elected president of the Teachers Association.
Yeah.
And we had right at the high school, we had 4 black teachers, or 3 black teachers.
Yeah.
And I think we had 1 or 2 other ones. What's happened to our school system since that particular time? And because I mean, when I was working for the Patriots part-time, I can remember, you know, we had some great black athletes, Brittany Mallory, Jerry Sadbury, these kids who are outstanding, the Nichols boys, Mark and Ray
Yeah.
Nichols, they were outstanding athletes. We had a much more diverse background of people back then. Since then, we don't have anybody in Easton Public Schools that's a black teacher.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's changed some since we've began this work. We've actually put multiple candidates in front of the school, and they've been able to hire some. And there's certain, the paraprofessionals are more diverse now too, but it's not just Easton. You go into any community that's like ours, that's predominantly white, and you typically have 99% white teachers.
I mean, we had Ruth Ashley, who, I mean, she was tremendous in music. I mean, I go back and I look at the yearbooks, and how many kids do we have out for music, and how many kids were in the choir, I mean, and how many were there in the choir when she was there. I mean, we had a school system which had 100 and something students, and Ruth Ashley, we all remember, Priscilla, remember, we'll uphold the name of names, we'll never let it down, we will make our offerings, pride of all the town, you know. So we had those things.
Yeah.
I don't understand how all of a sudden we lost them.
Yeah, you know, you want to go ahead?
Oh, I definitely want to weigh in here. Ruth actually left Easton because
Wait, can we get a
Oh.
moment? Okay, I just want to get.
She got promoted.
Ruth Ashley left Easton because no one would sell her a house.
What?
No one would what?
Sell her a house.
No one would sell her a house.
She got a tremendous promotion when she left.
Yes. Her husband was a scientist, so I mean, he was.
I mean, we didn't have that problem at all back then.
You don't have the problem now as far as numbers go. You know, there are more athletes of color at all ranges than in our day. We were very lucky that some of the kids that were there in our day, or in the early 70s, were exceptional and have been remembered. But the population of all range is more diverse than it used to be. The issue with teachers is, I used to teach in Randolph, which is a minority-majority community, and we would send people to teachers' fairs in communities of color, and we couldn't get them to come to New England. So it really is a terrible problem. We were lucky for many years at OA to have one of our guidance counselors who was an Asian, and that was the minority representation at OA.
My children were growing up, actually, we lived next door to a black family. They all grew up together. There was never an issue. As far as I know, there was never an issue. And they were around the same age that my son graduated in the 80s, my daughter late 70s. But it seems recently it's become more of an issue.
I mean, I think the issues have always been there. More, lately we're able to talk about them, and the way that the media is now and social media, that information spreads quicker and it can be louder. But the issues have always been there.
Yeah, I think that it's the issue of the student body. The student body can be fairly diverse. The issue of hiring, that has to do with school administrations. And that's where the problem is. I work for a bus company that serviced a good deal of the western suburbs. And we were an all-white bus company. The bus company knew that the towns wanted white drivers, and that's what they delivered to the town. We briefly had a minority superintendent, so we briefly had a black bus driver. And then we got rid of the minority superintendent, and now we're all back to white bus drivers. And these problems, I was a school bus driver in Easton, and one of the first things I noticed was the sort of attitude that kids could talk to their bus driver. I was referred to as a loser. I very quickly learned that part of things kids did in Easton was talk about their drivers like, a bunch of losers, and they get that from adults. And the administration, you really have to hold administrations accountable for a lot of this.
Yeah, we actually are very fortunate that the administration here is really dedicated to diversifying their workforce. Unfortunately, even the hiring pools are very, very small. So when you look at the college recruitment into teachers' programs, it's very reflective of the current population of teachers. It's predominantly white, predominantly women. Christian is very rare as being a black male in teaching. And so it's difficult too when you're all recruiting from a really small percentage of teachers of color, and they tend to, when the administration goes to the fairs to try and recruit candidates of color, a lot of what they hear is, they don't want to be the only person of color. They want to go to a community where there's already diverse teachers there because they feel like they would get the support that they need. So it's almost like really hard just to get the ball rolling, but once it's rolling and once we have some diversity, I think it will be easier for them to recruit.
And I want to add that we are extremely supported by the administration here in the work that we are doing in recruiting diverse college students and bringing them into our classrooms is really
and the teachers.
And the teachers, right? So it's really enhancing what can be. Because as Kelly mentioned earlier, we already have inspired multiple students, college students of color, to want to work in the schools, and we're continuing to do that work, and our goal is to actually have many of those students that we train come here when they go into teaching or into some type of a school environment.
Our students are highly trained. They get 30 hours of training before the program starts, and then they get at least an hour a week for over 20 weeks. And so some of them are only in 3 classrooms, and so they get as much training throughout the program as time in the classroom. And so if our school district hires them, they would be really fortunate to have students that have such great experience and training. But there's a lot of other issues too besides with the administration. Just some of the state rules and regulations around getting a teacher's license and maintaining a teacher's license. It can be really challenging, and it looks for a very narrow skill set, right? You have to be like a good test taker, but that's not the definition of intelligence. There's lots of different intelligence, and I don't think the way the state currently is set up, it really captures the diversity of intelligence out there to bring them into the classroom. And so that's another issue we face. Yes?
Are you talking about
Oh, sorry.
paraprofessionals?
Yes. What about paraprofessionals?
You think a paraprofessional is a reason, before you, when I went to college, you had to be a college graduate to teach. Now they're saying you don't have to be a college graduate anymore.
No, so paraprofessionals can go through a special program, so they can use some of their lived experience of being in the classroom to count as credits, but they still have to complete their degree, but they have like accelerated programs to help paraprofessionals complete their degree. So they'll still get their degree, but it's a specialized program for them.
How many at the high school do we have paraprofessionals now as compared to before?
I don't know the number, do you
I
know?
don't know.
Denise actually used to be a paraprofessional in Easton,
Middle school.
in the middle school.
Love that age group. I didn't think, oh, sorry. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'll give you right there.
So
I loved it. I thought I loved the little ones, and then you get to middle school and it's a whole new ballgame, but yeah. So I enjoyed it.
And they keep bugging her to become a teacher, but I'm like, you're not stealing her from me. I stole her from you, and you're not taking her back.
There was a famous movie in the To Sir with Love, with Sidney Poitier was the teacher in the film. And does that ever come up in conversation?
No, I'm not actually even sure. I don't think I've seen that film.
You've never seen it?
No.
So, well, you should see it.
Yeah.
It's undoubtedly on Netflix, but it was an Oscar-winning movie for Sidney.
What is it called again?
To Sir with Love. It's all
To Sir
about
with
the
Love?
very subject.
Okay.
Quite an old one.
Yeah. I'll definitely check it out, yeah. Thank you.
So I remember the movie. My father used to watch it. So. Her grandfather used to.
Yes, but I have to say that, our family going through this was really, really tough, especially when our daughter was struggling. But the amount of support that we received here was just unbelievable. I even posted on social media trying to find families of color to come to the table, to the superintendent advisory committee, and that's like a double-edged sword. I was really nervous that I was opening up a world of hurt, but all I got was love and support and well wishes for my daughter. And so, there had been a conversation before that about potentially moving out of Easton and going to a more diverse town, but with the response that we got, we just thought no matter where you go, there's going to be these issues, but the support and the love that we were shown, that's really what matters most. And so we decided to stay here and keep working with the town, and I'm so glad that we did.
You do a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this sounds like an expensive program.
It is.
This sounds like an expensive program. How do you get your funding?
It started a lot with Andy and I. So I still volunteer my time because we don't have enough money to pay me. So that I work 60 to 80 hours a week, and so that helps a lot. But we also charge the schools a fee to cover the cost of the diversity leaders to ensure that they're paid. And then we do fundraising and write grants to pay Denise because she manages.
Not just me, the materials.
And the materials, yeah. So I do a lot. So my background, I actually originally started as a scientist who adopted my kids, and when I was in the lab, my job was to design experiments for people that were struggling to figure out to get the information they wanted. My specialty was in experimental design, and so when I left the lab, I had all these issues navigating the foster care system, and my middle child in particular needed 7 services a week. It was really, really difficult, and I thought, I'm a really proactive person, I'm a smart person, and I'm struggling, how do other people do this? And so as I really started to learn how to navigate the system, I joined the Massachusetts Foster Parent Association. I eventually became vice president and started doing program development and design for the organization and for MSPCC. And then I actually started consulting for DCF on program development and design. And so I brought that background to RMK. I also worked on the healthcare gap too in the Haitian community, and started a nonprofit with my friend there. And so I took all that experience here to do the program development and design. But Denise, she has her MBA, she's the manager, she does all the implementations. She oversees all the employees and does all the business stuff. And so we make a really good team. And I'm really, really fortunate that when I said, my daughter needs help, Denise is like, what do you need me to do? And then she just kept coming every day and saying, what do you need?
We are just getting into the beginning stages of our 300th anniversary celebration, and there's a committee that's been formed to push that forward.
Yeah.
And one of its goals is to promote diversity in Easton. And so we're looking forward to working with many groups like yours to promote multiculturalism. I'd particularly like to go to that next step and work with the adults as well, because little kids don't start out as prejudiced. It starts with their grown-ups. So good luck over the next couple of years, and please look to the town for additional support.
Yes, and we are happy to support you and your efforts too. Like I said, we have a really great crew of dedicated volunteers to help in any way that you need, so just let us know. We also have a raffle going. If you guys anyone like lotto tickets, because we're raffling off $1,000 worth of lotto tickets. We're only selling 200 tickets, which I think we only have 30 left.
Yeah.
But they're $20 a ticket, and so if you're interested in potentially winning $1,000 in lottery tickets, and hopefully that turns into $1 million.
That'd be good.
And actually, today is the last day where
Selling them.
we're selling them. We're actually going to be drawing through a picker wheel tomorrow evening. So please, hunt me down if you'd like one. It's $20. $20. Oh, okay.
We need a paper and a pen. So
I will take your money in 1 second. What we'll do is we'll take either your number or your email, so that we can, when we put you in this spreadsheet, then we can email you or text you what your number is.
yes.
Okay, and then how you can, if everybody's on Facebook, you can actually watch the picker wheel tomorrow. Okay. But in addition to the grants that we write for and receive, we also have ways that you can help, either individually or as an organization. And it's a sponsorship opportunity. $40 can provide a multicultural book and activity for an entire class. $80 would provide a multicultural book and activity for 2 classes. $200 would provide a multicultural book and activity for 5 classes. Or $100 a month covers the pay for a diversity leader in 1 classroom for an entire year. So I wanted you all to.
Just put your, perfect.
Here, for anyone who's interested in.
Perfect. Would you prefer email or text for your number? Okay. Email.
We do appreciate you having us come here today. We are so happy to.
Yeah, no, we are not doing it online anymore. We're.
Organization. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. I don't know if this is.
Okay.
Okay.
So don't forget to.
Wait.
Can I
send
you them? No, just.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's at RMK Easton.
Was that a magnificent program? So informative, so engaging, and many people here tonight are buying the $20 raffle ticket.
We're all gamblers here. You're gonna sell them all tonight.
I think so. Johnny said you're gonna sell the rest of those tickets tonight, and tomorrow night is the drawing. So, anyway, thank you so much, Denise, Kelly.
Thank you.
A wonderful program.
It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have interviewed them on my community forum show, and they have presented many of these programs. And the more they celebrate this wonderful program, the more people that know about it, it's going to make a very big difference. So we thank you so much. We're so grateful for what you do.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are viewing us tonight, remember the Easton Grange. We meet the third Monday of every month except January and February. Tonight we're at the Holy Trinity Lutheran Church, but we will be meeting at the James Memorial Hall.
Thank you.
Yeah. In
Next
November.
month.
Next
We're
month.
very excited.
Next-
We're reopening November 1st.
Yes, the hall, the Oak Saints Hall is opening November 1st after monthly renovation. And so we will have our meeting there. Come for dinner at 6 o'clock and join us for a very interesting and engaging program, which I always promise, because I play it.
Sometimes she delivers.
Not next month, though. Next month installation.
And that program starts at 7. So please join us, find out about the Grange, what we're all about. We appreciate your attendance and we appreciate your, she's telling me to land the plane. Anyway, you get the message.
Love it.
Take care, until next time, be well.
Thank you.
You gotta go.